what the black man and woman needs to know about the nation, about the world, about themselves. Muhammad Speaks It. To order your 12-issue subscription to Muhammad Speaks newspaper, 313-371-7033. 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie is the grand champion of all bean pies. The rich flavor and smooth texture takes this pie to a whole new level of delicious. One bite and you'll understand why people all over the country call daily to order Kareem Bean Pie. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie.
This bean pie is delicious.
Muhammad Speaks presents Messenger Elijah Muhammad's Teachings by Minister Khalil Shabazz every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. at Muhammad's Temple of Islam, 12609 East McNichols Road in Detroit.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praises due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful. So, Master's Day of Judgment in which we now live, the alone do we serve, and the alone seek for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path, path of those upon whom thou bestow thy favors, not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none deserve to be served, worship, or praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is thy true servant and last apostle. Ameen. I'd like to acknowledge the brothers and sisters that extended us the greetings of Assalamu alaikum. We have Brother Rashid Shabazz and Brother Daniel Ali Shabazz. We have Brother Mustafa and Sister Sharice Ali from Ohio. We have Minister Mutaquan Ali from Philly. We have Brother Mutakabir Ali from New Jersey. We have Minister Jabran Rashad from Chicago. We have Brother Ibrahim Muhammad from Tampa. We have Brother Harvey Shabazz from Richmond, Virginia. And we have Brother Aziz Hassan from Newport News, Virginia. I'd like to say in the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his last and greatest messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'd like to greet the brothers and sisters with the Nation of Islam's greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Today, we like to talk about the one wife of Elijah Muhammad and why that is important. Now, this is the wife, the one and only wife of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Praise due to Allah. Because on Facebook this week, we've been having a pretty heated discussion about the messenger and these so-called wives. Now, why is it important for us to know that Sister Clara Muhammad is the only wife of the messenger? The messenger taught us in Message to the Black Man on page 259. It's called The Teachings of the Holy Quran on Obedience. The messenger says, the religion of Islam demands strict obedience to Allah and his messenger. The word Islam means submission, obedience. Obedience to God Allah is not accepted if one is disobedient to the messenger. He says the messenger believes in what has been revealed to him from his Lord, and so do the believers. That's plain and simple. The messenger believes what Master Farad Muhammad taught him, and so do the believers. That's what it means to say, I believe in the teachings of the messenger. That's what it means to say, I am a true follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So the messenger goes on. He says, a true follower of the messenger believes as the messenger believes. But a hypocrite pretends he believes, but is not at all a believer. The belief in the messenger's teachings is what keeps us all in check.
That's right.
It what unifies us. Because if the messenger says one thing and a brother is saying something else, the messenger's teachings is supposed to unite us. That's supposed to settle everything. Praise due to Allah. And that's what keep all Muslims on point. You don't have one Muslim that believe like Lewis believed. Then you got another Muslim that believe like Silas believed. Then you got another Muslim that believed like John Muhammad believed. Then you got another one that believed like Marvin Muhammad believed. But the messenger taught us that a true believer believes as the messenger believes. Praise be to Allah. Now let's go even further than that. Let's talk about Lewis. When he was the national representative for the message. And some people they say that it's disrespectful for me to call him Lewis. So let me just explain. Some people call him the minister. Some people call him Farrakhan. I call him Lewis. We talking about the same person. Because it's disrespectful for him to call himself the Messiah.
Yes.
It's disrespectful for him to call himself an honorable minister. It's disrespectful for him to say that flagrant is not the devil.
Yes, sir.
It's disrespectful for him to say that the messenger pronounced Master Farad Muhammad's name wrong. Let's talk about that. Praise due to Allah. The messenger taught us about a believer. A true believer and follower of the messenger believes as the messenger believes. Lewis has on Facebook, it says how to pronounce Farad. This in the Nation of Islam is what you call slack talk. Because the messenger taught us for 44 years that his name is Master Farad Muhammad.
That's right.
The messenger met God. God taught him for 3.5 years. He taught him the knowledge of both books, Bible and Holy Quran. The messenger told us, he said, if I have 100,000 ministers, he said they are only helping.
Yes, sir.
He said, but I am the only one that Allah will hold responsible for you not getting the truth.
That's right.
So if the messenger taught us that Farad is the name of God, then Farad is the name of God. If he said it wrong, then that's on the messenger. It ain't on me to correct what the messenger said. It's not on me to correct what he taught. It's on me to believe, accept, or reject. So we either accept or reject Farad. This is what keeps us all on the same page.
That's right.
We all say Farad. We all say Master Farad Muhammad. Praise due to Allah. So let's go to Lewis. When he was the national representative for the message. It's a book that was in Message to the Black Man. This book is called 7 Speeches. So this book was him back in the day giving speeches, and he had 7 speeches that he put in the book. This comes from his lecture called Woe to the Hypocrites. Because this was back when Muslims used to teach what the messenger taught. They didn't go and try to teach you something different. So the messenger taught us that a true follower of the messenger believes as the messenger believes. This is what Lewis said. He said, we have lived under the rule of falsehood. And in the day when God comes and raises up his last messenger and puts divine truth in the midst of the people, that truth sets up the discrimination. That truth sets up a yardstick to judge that which is good and that which is evil, that which is right and that which is wrong, that which is of God and that which is of Satan. And then the people are told, make a choice. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that he was married to Sister Clara Muhammad. This is what lets us know what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, what to believe and what not to believe. This is what he told us. This is the yardstick that we use. The messenger told us one wife.
That's right.
He said one wife. Whenever he was asked, who is your wife? Sister Clara Muhammad. He never taught us about Tainetta.
No.
He never taught us about these other sisters that Lewis brought on stage, talking about these are the wives of the messenger. Because in the restrictive law, if he brought, this is Evelyn, on stage and told us that this is the messenger's wife, what do we call this in Islam? We call that gossip. Because we just gonna go down the line before we read what he actually was saying about Evelyn and Lucille. We just gonna set up the restrictive law of Islam. Because the messenger told us that the restrictive law is our success.
Yes, sir.
This is how the messenger kept all believers in check. We don't believe nor listen to gossip. You can get up to 30 days out of the temple just for gossip. What does gossip mean? So if the messenger did not tell us that Tainetta was his wife, he didn't tell us that Evelyn and Lucille was his wife, he didn't bring them up and say, these are my children. If you say that, then that's gossip.
Yes, sir.
And in the restrictive law of Islam, you can get time out of the temple for gossip. Right online, we have on the Muhammad Speaks website, it says, on violations of the following laws, you are subject to dismissal for 30 days to an indefinite period of time from the temple. It says married and taking up time. But we can talk about that with Lewis. Lewis is married to Khadijah. That's who he married to. He's not married to Stephanie Mills. The messenger told us, he said, we do not feel, rub, or pat sisters.
That's right.
Or watch the movements of their body. That's the messenger's Nation of Islam.
Yes.
Where he told us the restrictive law is our success.
Yes, sir.
And you can look at Lewis. Just by looking at how he handles sisters, that's different from how you can handle sisters with the messenger. In the messenger's Nation of Islam, when you go to the Muhammad Speaks, you don't even see married couples smooching. You don't see a married brother with his arm around his own wife. No sign of public affection. They just standing next to each other. You might see sometime a brother hold his wife's hand. But most of the time, they not doing that. But today, in the new school Nation of Islam, he can have his arm around all the actors. He can be holding their hand. He can kiss them on the cheek. That shows what's in his heart.
Yes.
When he brought these sisters on stage talking about they the wives of the messenger. So let's go even further than that. Let's go back to 1964. Since all Muslims are to believe as the messenger believes, the messenger had official statements on how we were supposed to look at what was going on with Malcolm and these sisters. He didn't just leave us just to look at this and just figure out what we want to think about what's going on. He gave official statements in the Muhammad Speaks on how Muslims and lost fighters were to understand what was going on.
Yes, sir.
And what makes Lewis such a double crosser? He was the minister that was chosen to give the lost found an understanding of Malcolm, Evelyn, and Lucille and them children. He was the one. So let's go to December 4th, 1964. Muhammad speaks. And it says, Boston minister tells of Malcolm, Muhammad's biggest hypocrite. So it has in the editor's note, right next to his picture. And I'm going to read some of it and not all of it. It says the vicious slanderers of this particular defector, meaning Malcolm, while doomed to failure, has caused concern not only among the ranks of Muslims, but among many fair-minded non-Muslims. It goes on to say, the following objective article from Minister Lewis of Boston is printed in response to demands for a definitive statement on the acts of this particular character. Because when we would look at this hypocrite, Malcolm, look. Louis Farrakhan and Malcolm Little are two sides of the same coin.
Yes, sir.
Louis Farrakhan and Malcolm Little are playing on the ignorance of the lost founds. When Malcolm Little, this hypocrite, brought these people in the public and said these are the sisters, he had babies with these secretaries. In Islam, to charge a person with adultery, you must have 4 witnesses.
That's right.
That's the one side of the same coin that Lewis is on. Malcolm didn't bring no witnesses. He was telling people that the messenger's son told him. Once again, the restrictive law is our success.
Yes, sir.
When Wallace told Malcolm, I heard my daddy got some babies with some sisters. Malcolm X, the national representative for the messenger, minister of Temple number 7 in Harlem, he was supposed to tell Wallace, where your 4 witnesses? You ain't got 4 witnesses, you slack talking and gossiping the message. Ready to do it to Allah. You have no evidence. So Louis Farrakhan, because he the big shot. If it wasn't for me, wouldn't none of y'all know the message. If it wasn't for me. I was in the nation for 64 years. None of y'all been tried like me. So y'all owe me something. So Louis Farrakhan now, he can bring gossip, lies on the messenger. He don't have nowhere did the messenger tell us that. So that's simply gossip.
Yes.
That's all it is. And if we was in the time of the messenger, just like Malcolm, he would be suspended.
Yes, sir.
Because Louis Farrakhan, a different side of the same coin of Malcolm, when he tell the story, he said when Malcolm told him about these secretaries, he said Malcolm told him, don't tell nobody. He said, I'm not going to tell nobody, only the messenger. Why did he say that? Because Malcolm gossiped. Malcolm don't have 4 witnesses. He know the law. Malcolm was gossiping. He didn't have 4 witnesses. So I'm telling the messenger. He's spreading gossip about you. That's what he was supposed to do. So when Louis spreads gossip now, what should happen to him? He the big shot. He above the law. So nothing happens to him. So not only do he tell believers that the messenger is the Father, but now they his wives. That's double what Malcolm did.
Yes.
Malcolm only said he was the Father. He said he the Father and he the husband and they his children. So let's read what Lewis said in this article. This is a part of his article because his article is 5 pages long, this particular article. It's so long it's broken up into subtitles. That's how long this article is. So you have one side or one subtitle that says Malcolm uses women. It says just as Muslimah. Who is Muslimah? To show you how in-depth his article was. When you talk about or read from Maulana Muhammad Ali, nobody talks about Muslimah in the history of Prophet Muhammad. He said in his article that Master Farad Muhammad told the messenger to read 104 books that will help him guide the people who he was sent to. He said in this book that is called The Life of Muhammad, that was written by Washington Irving, he tells you the chapter and the page. It talks about an enemy of Muhammad named Muslimah. Lewis said that the messenger knew what Malcolm was going to do years before he did. Because the messenger already had 104 books that he had to read from Master Farad Muhammad. So this enemy of Prophet Muhammad had a girlfriend. The girlfriend's name was Sedjah, S-E-D-J-A-H. That was the name of Muslimah's girlfriend, according to Lewis. This is how he breaking down Malcolm. He said that Muslimah used his girlfriend, plus he tried to get other women to try to overpower Prophet Muhammad. This was Lewis. If it wasn't for me, nobody would know about the messenger guy who lying and sneak dissing the messenger. That's what he doing. He sneak dissing.
Yes, sir.
He talked down on the messenger. But let's keep on going. It says, just as Muslimah went around getting next to the women he once had the strength to use for sweethearts, Malcolm has done the same with Lucille Rosary and Evelyn Williams. This is Lewis.
Yes.
That's why I call him Lewis. His name is Lewis.
Yes.
Lewis. Sneak dissing the messenger. He fully understands who Lucille is.
That's right.
Who Evelyn is. Evelyn and Lucille tried to overthrow the messenger with that hypocrite Malcolm Little. That's why Malcolm's history is my favorite history to read.
Yes, sir.
Because Lewis cream puffed the history of Malcolm. He said, oh, the messenger told us to leave Malcolm alone. That's what the cream puff Nation of Islam want to hear. Because we allow people to slander the messenger. We allow fakes to call the messenger Elijah Poole. It's fakes right now in every black city in America with loudspeakers talking about Elijah Poole, talking about Master Farad Muhammad, because Louis Farrakhan has cream puffed the history of Malcolm X.
Yes, sir.
Because when Malcolm X turned hypocrite on the messenger stepped to Malcolm X. That's why I say if anybody can find that the messenger said leave Malcolm alone history, send it to the Muhammad Speaks.
Yes, sir.
Because when Malcolm X was mud washing the messenger, let's just talk about this one instant. We talking about documented facts. The messenger went to New York on Malcolm. It had in the Muhammad Speaks the day that Harlem was no heaven for the hypocrites. The messenger stepped to Malcolm Little, just like he did in 1960, to J.B. Stoner. J.B. Stoner was talking reckless about the messenger. So the messenger say, okay, let's see then. Because the messenger wanted all the smoke. Let's go see how tough J.B. Stoner and his Ku Klux Klan is. So the messenger went to Atlanta, Georgia. Had FOI on top of the building. Brothers lined up on both sides of the street for blocks with the messenger. So in 1964, Malcolm Little was mud washing the messenger. The messenger said, okay, let's go see then. Let's see how tough Big Bad Malcolm is. Because all the brothers from New York, they be trying to hype up Malcolm's history. They be talking about some pipe squad that Malcolm X was supposed to have in Temple No. 7. When you look at the history, the documented history of the Nation of Islam, from the Muhammad Speaks and Malcolm X just joined the Nation of Islam. He didn't bring no pipe squad. Muslims was fighting the police in 1934 when there wasn't no temple in New York. We talking about documented history.
That's right.
Go look at Brother Kareem Allah. Go look at them brothers the early days. They was fighting police in 1935 in Chicago. Before Malcolm, Muhammad Ali, and Lewis. So let's talk about when the messenger went to Harlem. FOI fights that broke out. One of the fights, a sister said, he with Malcolm. That was one. It was another one with a sign that said Muhammad is a phony. Brothers jumped on him. Now, how did they used to jump on Malcolm X's people? We just want to talk the history. Because Lewis said, the messenger said, leave Malcolm alone. In New York, when they talk about the history, when they would catch Malcolm X people, the FOI would lock arms in a tight corridor around who the FOI was beating on and wouldn't let the police come and help until they got finished. That was happening all over the country. So the messenger went to New York while all this fighting going on to show Malcolm who the big dog. Then in this article, Louis Farrakhan is praising. Brothers was writing articles about that throughout the paper, talking about how the messenger is the only leader for the black man. The messenger had loyal followers with him. The messenger had enough loyal followers. He can tell all the hypocrites, this nation is honeycombed with hypocrites. But the messenger had enough loyal Muslims to keep the majority of them hypocrites in check.
That's right.
So all them hypocrites saw Malcolm. You can hype up the history of Malcolm all you want. All them hypocrites saw Malcolm. They saw how fast them loyal believers of the messenger turned on Malcolm. Malcolm was supposed to be the big dog. He was supposed to be, when I came in the temple, the messenger only had 4 temples. And the believers, it was mostly old people. Now that I'm gone, most of the militant ones coming with me. The messenger got tired of listening to Malcolm. The messenger say I was sick. But when I listened to Malcolm, I got well. That was the message.
Yes, sir.
We gonna see what time it is with this hypocrite. The messenger in the Pittsburgh carrier. He said Malcolm is the worst hypocrite I ever seen. He said death is too good for Malcolm. He said Malcolm is lucky that he don't live in the days of Moses. That's how the messenger used to talk about Malcolm. And if I'm lying, check the history. Malcolm was doing what Lewis is doing today.
Right.
Lewis is saying that the messenger is the father and they his wives. Now let's go on with the article. He said that Malcolm, he would visit Chicago several days in advance of making an appearance there in order to call converse, and lull around with Evelyn Williams, planning Muhammad's overthrow. He said he tried to make her his special agent in getting other sisters to aid her and Lucille. This Lewis. He said that Evelyn and Lucille was trying to overthrow the message.
That's right.
Just like how Muslima tried to do to Prophet Muhammad. He said that Evelyn was the top agent to try to get other sisters to go along with Malcolm.
Yes, sir.
Because there's so much I want to say. Because I love the history. Another lie they talk about Louis. They say Louis Farrakhan is the #1 student of the message. Anything I'm saying that you think a lie, let's go pound for pound, as they say, when Muhammad speaks newspaper articles. Because I'm not impressed with who is the most popular speaker in the white man's media. Let's go pound for the ministers that did work for the message. Let's see who the #1 student. I'll give you 2 ministers just to go look and do some research on. Let's talk about Jeremiah Shabazz.
Yes, sir.
Jeremiah Shabazz was down in Atlanta, Georgia, back when Lewis was in Boston. Now I must say first, I'm not taking nothing away from Lewis when he was representing the message. Not doing that. He was a hell of a minister too.
Yes, sir.
Got to give him his props. Truth is the truth.
Yes, sir.
But what he was good at was talking.
Yes, sir.
That's all he was good at.
Yes, sir.
The messenger sent Jeremiah Shabazz. On just Jeremiah said. He said he was at the messenger's house. He said the messenger was having problems with the minister in Atlanta. Jeremiah said he had no intentions of going to Atlanta at all. He just there to meet the messenger. So he said the messenger got a phone call or something about Atlanta. Something that was just spur of the moment. I don't remember if it was a phone. It was something that was just happening fast. So Jeremiah said the messenger asked him, when can you go to Atlanta? And all the brothers just like, hey, I could be in Atlanta whenever you want me to be in Atlanta. But one thing Jeremiah said that showed the believer in Jeremiah. Jeremiah said, I was afraid. Kept it real. Said, I was afraid. He said, so I asked the messenger, what should I do when I get afraid? He said the messenger told him, call on Allah.
That's right.
Dean Lewis gonna tell us that the messenger told you to say Farad wrong. He told Jeremiah, call on Allah while he in Boston. So let's talk some history. So Muhammad speaks history. In 1963, it was a black man that got castrated by the Ku Klux Klan. I believe it was in South Carolina. Who did the messenger send? He sent Jeremiah. In 1963, when Medgar Evers was assassinated in Mississippi, who did the messenger send? He sent Jeremiah. Where was Lewis? In Boston. Jeremiah talk about when he go to, I think it was Greenwood, Mississippi, to interview them people. They didn't even want to talk to him. They were so afraid. In 1963, when that church was bombed by bombing Bob, I forget the devil name. Who did the messenger send? He sent Jeremiah. In 1962, when J.B. Stone, the same Ku Klux Klan member that the messenger checked, had a rally called Fire Your Nigga Day. Who did the messenger send? He sent Jeremiah. Jeremiah was down in the South with them castrating white people. Jeremiah was down in the South with them white boys who would ride around and rape black women. That's Jeremiah's history. Jeremiah built up the South. when Stokely Carmichael, who was in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, when they would go to the temple, whose temple did they go to? They went to Jeremiah's temple.
Yes, sir.
They didn't go to Boston. They didn't go to New York. They was down there with Jeremiah. Brother Jeremiah. He said that when Malcolm would like to do, he said Malcolm loved to be in the New York Times. So he said Malcolm used to come down south and talk all the big talk. And by the time it hit the newspapers, he was back in New York. Jeremiah said, I had to live down here with these crackers, he said. I'm the one got to live down here. And all Jeremiah said, he said, I didn't mind Malcolm coming and doing that if that's what he wanted to do. He said, but just tell him Jeremiah was with you. That's what he said. But how Lewis do? He the only one.
Yeah.
He the number one student. You had brothers who was paralyzed for life. Let's talk about another minister that Lewis couldn't go pound for pound with. Let's talk about James Shabazz of Newark, New Jersey. If I'm lying, go check the history. James Shabazz met the messenger in prison. That's what James Shabazz was converted from. James Shabazz got out and became a minister. James Shabazz went to jail for 4 years for not going to the draft. Mess say we don't fight in the devil's army.
Right.
So after Brother James served 4 years in prison, when he got out, the devil asked him again, what's happening? You want to go or not? Brother James said no. So he spent another 4 years in prison for the cause. We talking about Muhammad Speaks history. We ain't talking about that being popular in the media because you know how to talk.
Right.
I'm talking about brothers who sacrificing their blood, sacrificing their wife and children for the cause.
Yes.
Then we can go on even further with Brother James Shabazz. Because what they don't like to talk about, the messenger sent James Shabazz before he sent Lewis to Temple number 7. Jeremiah said the only reason the messenger couldn't use James is because Captain Joseph and James Shabazz couldn't get along. But when you go to the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, Brother James was the first one the messenger sent to New York. It wasn't Lewis. So then, Brother James, he go back to Newark, New Jersey, plus he over other temples. Temples being raided. Then in 1973, brothers didn't like Brother James because he was hardcore messenger.
Yes, sir.
He was hardcore messenger when Malcolm was alive, and he was hardcore messenger all the way up till he died.
Yes, sir.
When you read the article about James, they say that they was calling James' house making threats. Say Brother James didn't pay it no mind. He kept on being hardcore for the message.
Yes, sir.
They nicknamed James Shabazz the Son of Thunder. He kept right on being the Son of Thunder for the message. You wasn't telling Brother James that Lewis was the number one student of the message. You wasn't telling James Shabazz. Let's talk about one more brother, then we're going to move on. Let's talk about a brother in San Francisco who was out selling white nation chicken because the white man didn't like that the messenger was so successful with white nation G. So this brother just going door to door with fish. So he got shot, paralyzed for life. This brother's still alive today, still in a wheelchair. It's many brothers who spent time in prison, brothers who was killed, brothers who was paralyzed for the cause. No one person rises is above the condition of their people. In the Nation of Islam, the messenger said there are no big I's and little U's. We all are believers in the eyesight of Allah. All are believers. Believing brothers and believing sisters. So Louis Farrakhan, he wrote in the paper as an official statement for the messenger that Lucille and Evelyn was agents to overthrow the messenger. So it goes on to say, it says Malcolm made several calls to other sisters whom he thought were weak enough to side with him, but without avail. He writes from Mecca and sends greetings and messages from Egypt and other places to Muslim women in the mosque whom he thinks are weak with Muhammad and his leadership. He tries to use them, but most of them are not so weak since the manifestation of Allah's backing of Muhammad's mission. Now he's saying, just double cross. He's saying these other sisters who ain't going along with Evelyn and Lucille ain't as weak, he said. But he running this on you. So what do we think about you? He know you a bunch of weak followers.
That's right.
He don't have no respect for you at all.
That's right.
The messenger said a hypocrite hate Allah and his message. He said, but they won't leave. He said they stay around just to turn you away.
That's right.
He said a hypocrite wins your confidence. I was the #1 student for the messenger. If it wasn't for me, y'all wouldn't even know about the messenger. I'm the one for 40 years that made the messenger's name known. That's a lie. The messenger made his name known.
That's right.
It's black people that's calling themselves black today and don't even know why. The messenger said Islam is here to stay.
Yes, sir.
The messenger already made his mark. We don't need Lewis or nobody else. The messenger say Islam don't need you. He said Islam is independent. Like Master Farad Muhammad is independent.
Yes, sir.
His name is independent. He is an independent God. Messenger said Master Farad Muhammad told him. He said you get the keys and me and you go. What he tell us? He fulfilled his mission just by getting the message. He don't need not one of us. But the messenger said, let me try. Let me try to get it. He said I was going to make the truth so plain that even a fool can't have it. So we don't need Lewis. The messenger said, after me comes God himself. He said, after a man takes you or brings you face to face with God and the devil, he said, it's nothing left for another person to teach you. But Lewis, he see all y'all as dumb followers. They gonna believe whatever I tell them. So we say, look, the white man ain't a product of grafting. Father Flake ain't a devil. Not this one. This one been working hard for the black man. Even though he being charged with molestation. A white man. The messenger said homosexuality started in the church.
That's right.
That's what the messenger taught. But Lewis, he can sneak diss the message because he know he got nothing but dumb followers. He can all praise is due to Allah. He can take Stephanie Mills. And this is to show all you sisters about these fake polygamy talking brothers. Lewis got more than one wife. He married to Khadijah. But that still ain't enough. He wants Stephanie too. Tell him. That's why the messenger told us one wife.
Yes, sir.
The messenger kept us in line. You don't want no polygamy. He said you nasty-minded people.
That's what he called it.
Brother brothers don't want no polygamy. They want all the sisters. This brother in that Swan song, just to show you his intentions on bringing up all these sisters. He talking about he didn't flirt. The only sisters he flirted with was the ones that was for him. Sisters, listen to him. What brother don't flirt with the women that's for them? I ain't never flirted in the dead world with some sister that wasn't for me. Everyone I want is for me. That's why the messenger said, don't marry and taking up time.
Right.
He said, we don't feel, rub, or pat sisters or watch movements of their bodies. The messenger had the brothers with the brothers, sisters with the sisters. Brothers don't mingle with sisters. If you see one you want to marry, you tell the captain. You don't go in the MTG class talking about you flirting with one of yours. You ain't. How do you flirt in the Nation of Islam under the message? How do you flirt? You can't even flirt in courtship. That's just show how he know you's just some dumb followers. See, these niggas will do what I tell them to do. Okay, let me just see. L. Ron Hubbard. Think we should add that in the teachings. Don't hear a peep. The messenger told us the white race is a race of devils. He said the white man is the devil, regardless of place or time. But Lewis said, I tell him anything. While Flager is being charged with molestation, he put him on the front page. Talking about he a good man. Just sneak dissing the messenger. Messenger taught us that a hypocrite is worse than enemy devil.
That's right.
That's why when Wallace came back, Wallace gave a fake apology. Messenger looked at them, said, I can't accept him. That's a learning for all of us. He said, I can't accept this hypocrite. Y'all gotta accept him if that's what you want to do. You accept him. So Wallace D. Muhammad, he said that he knew he was going to destroy the Nation of Islam from the beginning. He said, but he knew he couldn't do it all at once. He said he knew the messenger had faithful followers. So he said he had to do it bit by bit. This hypocrite was accepted or forgiven in 1965. This hypocrite held that hate for the message for 10 years. Pretending. It's articles in the Muhammad Speaks with Wallace. Wallace was at the messenger showing us. Y'all accepted him. Can't put that on me. I said you never trust a hypocrite. He said Allah never forgives a hypocrite. He said Allah is our only friend. He said once Allah befriends you, then you double cross Allah. He said Allah never forgives you for that. So he said Allah appoints you a devil. He said because that devil takes you further and further off the path. Messenger say Allah seals the hearts of the hypocrites so that they can't believe or understand. He said Allah wants them chest and neck deep in the fire. So he said the hypocrite stays around the believer because he hates that you believe. Messenger say he hates your children. Hypocrites hate Allah and the messenger, and they hate that you believe. So they do all they can to take you off the right path. That's Louis Farrakhan. He knew just like Wallace that he was going to destroy the nation of, continue to destroy the Nation of Islam. He just like Wallace. He got to wait till the special time. Because when you listen to Louis talk about the prophet, to show you how he think y'all just some dumb followers. This is an article that you can read that says the truth and travail of righteous prophets. When he talked about the prophets, He didn't talk about the prophets' wives. He talked about how the prophets were accused. Lot was accused of having incest with his daughters. Noah was accused of being a drunkard. David was accused. And he said the messenger is accused. He said that's why the messenger has to fulfill the prophecy of the prophets. He wasn't talking about wives. He was talking about them being accused. This is Lewis. Now you can tell you ain't. The messenger got to fulfill the prophets. How many wives did Muhammad have? How many wives did Abraham have? How many wives did Solomon have? He could have as many wives, he the messenger. He didn't say that then. Because he know he got dumb followers now.
Yes.
You had loyal believers in the messenger then. They didn't care nothing about, as we in this. Go get the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. Started in 1961. Go look at the name of the minister and the captain over them temples. Then go to 1965 and look again. Then go to 68. Then go to 70. Then go to 72. Look how many times that changed.
Yes.
The messenger will relieve you in a heartbeat. That's why when all them hypocrites saw Malcolm, they knew ain't nothing special about us. The messenger could regroup in a heartbeat.
That's right.
The messenger wanted us to get the truth. He wasn't with personality. The messenger made more people famous than any man in the world.
Yes.
People who world renowned because of the messenger. He will replace you in a heartbeat.
Yes, sir.
So all them clout chasers love to be a minister for the message. Well, brothers and sisters, we don't want to prolong the time. So I leave you as I came in the nation of Islam's reading words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Enjoying the show? Help keep us on the air. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033 to make a donation.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the beneficent, the merciful. So, Master's Day of Judgment in which we now live. The alone do we serve, and the alone seek for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path. Path of those upon whom thou spell thy favors. Not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down. Nor those who go astray have they heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none is to be served, worship, or praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is thy true servant and last apostle. Ameen. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us not to do anything to anyone that we wouldn't have done it to ourselves, and treat everybody right, even the devil. Assalamu alaikum.